Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show that we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms as well as to Facebook Live. So if you are joining us from Facebook and you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below. Hopefully I'll be able to address any questions or comments that you might have as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can address anything individually for you. But let's get started here. What are our headlines? Well, we're keeping track of some cooler and quiet conditions out there right now. It looks nice. We've got mostly clear skies. I just got back from the Friday after 5 in Owensboro. Beautiful weather out there to enjoy some outdoor activity. So hopefully you were able to take advantage of that before the sun set. But even now that the sun is set, it's still pretty nice to be outside. It's going to start to get a little bit chillier. So if you do have any outdoor plans in the late night hours, I definitely recommend a longer sleeves, or at least a lighter jacket. And then as we go through the weekend here, we'll remain on the cool side, and then we've also got some showers to talk about, especially as we get towards the second half of the weekend and into the beginning of next week. And then as we go through the middle of next week, we should remain cool before starting to warm back up to around average by the end of next week. So here's a look at our current temperatures right now. We've got temps in the 60s across the tri-state, maybe even some in the upper 50s. 58 now in Jasper, 60 in Madisonville, 61 in Evansville and Henderson, and around 63 there in Owensboro. Across the region, we've got temps in the 50s farther to our north, 53 up towards Detroit, 51 in Fort Wayne. Definitely more mild to the south, though, topping out in, temperatures are sitting in the low to mid 60s now through Nashville area. And comparing it to this time yesterday, we're pretty much similar to where we were by a degree or so, or maybe slightly warmer. But here's a look at our May temperature so far for the month. We're rounding out the end of the month here within the next week and a half. Temperatures to start the month, they were a little iffy. You know, we were going strong with 70s on the first and the second, and then we started to get caught underneath that cutoff low that sat and spun over the tri-state for several days. That kept things cool and wet through that first week of May. And then we started to average out to near normal through that second week. And then this third week, we started to warm up into the upper 70s, into the lower 80s. We had a couple of upper 80s in there as well. Especially on the 15th, topping out at 89 degrees, nearly 90. So we've had quite a roller coaster ride of temperatures so far in the month of May, but overall we've been trending warmer and warmer here, and I think as we round out the month, we're going to trend a little bit more on the cooler, or maybe even right around average side. In terms of precipitation, we've had a good amount of it so far. You know, that first week was a very wet week. We had rain for several days in a row. And then we've had a couple of heavy rounds of thunderstorms, some severe weather mixed in there as well. So that's where you see those darker green shades indicating the higher amounts of rainfall. So we've received a good amount, about 5 inches worth so far for this month. And that puts us over an inch above where we should be for a typical May for this time of year. And looking at the entirety of the year, 26.22 inches of liquid equivalent precipitation has fallen, so that does include a little bit of snow that we had back in January and February, but that's melted down and given a liquid equivalent there. And that puts us over 5 inches, almost 6 inches above where we should be for the whole year for precipitation. So we have plenty of moisture out there. We're not really concerned with any sort of drought conditions happening anytime soon. Here's a look at our current radar. It's quiet here in the tri-state. We've got a few spot showers popping up over southeastern Missouri, but it's running into this area of high pressure that we have just off to our northeast there. So that's probably not going to make it into our neck of the woods overnight tonight, but there is that chance we catch a stray shower, especially across southern Illinois and far, far western Kentucky. So don't want to completely rule that out, but again, not expecting really anything to happen overnight tonight. Temperatures drop down into the lower 50s for our overnight lows. Partly cloudy skies, winds will be calm, and then looking ahead to tomorrow, again, it's it's not going to be it's not going to be too bad. Actually, it's been trending nicer and nicer each time that we look. However, we are still going to have some cloud cover out there, but it also looks like we'll have some sunshine at least throughout the day. And then we do have that slight chance for a spot shower through the afternoon. But other than that, I think we actually stay mainly dry for our Saturday. Winds will be out of the east between 4 to 8 miles per hour, and we'll top out into the upper 60s to lower 70s, so very comfortable, almost fall-like, which is what we experienced for today. So tracking everything out here on our future radar, you'll notice we'll have partly cloudy skies streaming in overnight tonight. You'll also see that spot shower still hanging out over southeastern Missouri. Again, I don't want to completely rule it out working its way here closer to the tri-state, but I'm really not expecting that to happen. Here we are waking up early Saturday morning. We're looking at partly cloudy skies pretty much through the entirety of the day. And then as we get in the afternoon, that's where we could see a little bit more in the way of cloud cover, perhaps a few spot showers, especially to the southwest of Evansville. Folks to the north and east, maybe a little bit drier with less of a chance, and then that's about it. So again, tomorrow is a pretty nice day. You know, it's not going to be a full-on sunny day like we had today, but we'll at least stay mostly dry out there. So if you have any outdoor plans, I'd still think you are more than welcome to continue to have those plans. So looking at the forecast for Sunday, that's when it gets a little bit more different. That's where we have better chances for that rainfall. So here's a look at that, a bigger area of moisture sliding in from the west. So that will send in some more widespread rain and thunderstorms, perhaps not really thunderstorms, but some embedded thunder within the rain is possible there. And that looks to move in primarily for the morning hours. And then as we get towards the afternoon and evening, that's when it'll start to gradually taper off. So it won't be a complete washout of a day. I think the first half of the day is definitely going to be the worst part for Sunday. You'll have better luck doing any sort of activities outdoors in the second half of the day. Again, it's still going to be damp. You could still catch a stray shower. It's not going to be sunny, but you know, at least we're not dealing with severe weather like we were last year. So that's a good improvement. We'll take it. Again, it's not a perfect forecast, but it's all right. We've had worse. But here's a look at our rain and storm chances for the rest of the 7-day period. Our rain chances seem to peak here through the end of the weekend and into the beginning of next week. Then it'll start to dry out as we get towards the middle and end of next week. And at this point in time, it doesn't look like anything major is going to be moving through within the next week either. So that's really nice as well. Nice change of pace, maybe calming down just a bit. But here's a look at our future longer range model. This is the European model. Here is the starting on Monday at 1 o'clock in the morning. So the pre-dawn hours, this is where we have this area of low pressure that's going to kind of sit and spin off to our southwest. And then that's going to continue to push in from the west, but still remain mostly to our south there. So that's why we'll continue to see some scattered shower chances, maybe some rumbles of thunder there through Tuesday and into Wednesday, possibly a stray shower, but it looks like Wednesday will probably start to trend on the drier side. And then same thing with Thursday. Looks like we'll also stay on the drier side. Now, in terms of how much rainfall we can expect, the heavier amounts of rain are going to be expected farther off to our south, really mostly western Kentucky. That's where you have the chance for maybe up to 2 inches of rainfall, pockets up to 3. Can't be completely ruled out if you get caught underneath a heavier shower, much less as you go farther to the north, maybe a ½ an inch up to an inch possible north of the Ohio River. So not too heavy of a rainfall either, so we're not very concerned with any sort of flooding issues. Of course, there could be some localized flooding issues, like one of those streets that always floods when it rains. Expect things like that, but I'm not expecting any sort of widespread flash flood threat with the rain this weekend. Now, beyond this weekend and into next week and into the week after, we have that 6 to 10 day outlook for our temperatures showing that we're going to stay slightly below average. So here's a look at what we're looking at here. So the next 7 days, temperatures will remain well below average, only topping out in the upper 60s to lower 70s. More unsettled for the second half of the weekend and into the beginning of the work week there, with cooler temperatures and showers possible. Then it looks like we dry out a little bit more towards the end of the work week next week, and that's when we'll notice our temperatures start to climb back up to around normal, which is in the upper 70s to right around 80 degrees. But even those temps there at the end of next week are still technically below average. So that's what the Climate Prediction Center was kind of picking up on, and it looks like in terms of precipitation, we'll have more of an average storm track here, so nothing overly done with those storm systems moving through. So hopefully we have more of a calm end to the month of May, and hopefully a nice calm start to June. But what starts in June is hurricane season, and the NOAA has come out with their official 2025 hurricane season forecast, and that puts us in that 13 to 19 named storms range for the Atlantic Basin. And then looking at, of those named storms, 6 to 10 of them could become hurricanes, and of those hurricanes, 3 to 5 of them could be on the major side. So category 3 or higher is a major hurricane there. So that's what we'll be expecting as we head through summer. Now, how does that stack up to our climatology? Well, actually, while there may be some indications that there could be an above average year, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's forecast actually kind of fits pretty well with what is average. Average amount of storms formed in the Atlantic is around 16, and the average amount of hurricanes is around 8. So both of those numbers kind of fit nicely within the National Weather Service's range there. So looking at hurricane climatology, but also bringing up the fact that our ENSO cycles are now going to be switching. We're actually heading towards a more neutral year for this hurricane season. And you can see that years that we had the blue color, that was a La Nina. Years that are red, that was a El Nino. Years that are gray, that is a more neutral year. So you can see just how that kind of statistically changes. We saw definitely a lot of hurricanes during both El Nino and La Nina seasons, but there is a little bit more to it than just the ENSO phase. And maybe we'll get into that on another version of the weather show. Maybe we'll do more of a tropical segment if you guys are interested. But I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to pull up the 7-day and take that full screen so you guys can get a better look at it. But through the weekend here, I think Saturday is definitely going to be the drier day, the nicer day. If you have any outdoor plans, Saturday is definitely the day to do it. And then as we get into Sunday, better chances for rain across the tri-state, mostly through the first half of the day, drying out through the late afternoon and into the evening hours before more rain scattered about Monday and into Tuesday. Then we'll dry out through Wednesday into Friday of next week with temperatures returning to near normal levels. So that is all I've got here for the 14 First Alert Weather Show. I'm going to hop off the live. I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody stay safe and have a great rest of your night.